My husband's mistress bought the house next door. She just announced she's pregnant, and it's his. I'm Claire, and I found out about the affair 6 months ago. The discovery was textbook cliché, late-night texts, unexplained absences, a receipt for jewelry I never received. When I confronted Marcus, he didn't even try to deny it. He just sat there on our cream-colored couch, the one we'd picked out together at that overpriced furniture store in Denver, and said he was sorry. Sorry, like that word could fix anything. He swore it was over. Swore he'd ended things with Amber weeks before I found out. Swore he wanted to make our marriage work, and like an idiot, I believed him. Or maybe I just wanted to believe him because the alternative, divorce, splitting our lives down the middle, becoming a statistic, felt too overwhelming. So we tried. Therapy sessions every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Date nights that felt forced and awkward. Me, pretending I didn't check his phone every time he went to the bathroom. Him, pretending he didn't notice. Then last week, a moving truck appeared next door. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, had finally moved to that assisted living facility her daughter had been pushing for. The house had been on the market for maybe 2 months. I'd watched young couples tour it on weekends, imagining which ones might become our new neighbors. Would they have kids? A dog? Would they be the type to borrow sugar or keep to themselves? I never imagined it would be her. I was in the kitchen when I saw her directing the movers. At first, I didn't recognize her. I'd only seen her once before in a parking lot, sitting in her car outside the hotel where Marcus had admitted to meeting her. I'd driven there like a crazy person after finding the receipt, thinking I'd catch them. Instead, I'd just seen her leaving. Blonde hair, designer sunglasses, driving a white Mercedes. Now here she was, wearing yoga pants and a tank top, pointing at furniture like she belonged here. My hands started shaking so badly I dropped the coffee mug I was holding. It shattered across the tile floor, brown liquid spreading like a stain. Marcus came running from his home office. What happened? He asked. I couldn't speak. I just pointed out the window. The color drained from his face. Claire, I swear to God, I didn't know. Get out, I said quietly. What hair off the kit me da came up off the kitchen cop damn it. What haired him on the phone immediately, his voice low and angry, probably calling Amber. I just stood there, coffee soaking into my socks, staring at the woman who'd helped destroy my marriage, now unloading boxes next door. The next few days were a blur. Marcus claimed ignorance, said he had no idea she'd bought the house, that she must have done it deliberately. I didn't know what to believe anymore. How do you trust someone who's already proven they'll lie to your face? I avoided the windows, avoided going outside, but living in your own home like a prisoner only works for so long. On day 4, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Amber stood there, holding a plate of what looked like cookies, wearing a sundress and a smile that made my stomach turn. I opened the door but didn't step back to let her in. Hi, she said brightly. I'm Amber. I just moved in next door and wanted to introduce myself. The audacity was breathtaking. I know who you are, I said flatly. Her smile faltered for just a second. Oh, Marcus told you. Marcus didn't have to tell me. I watched you move in. She had the decency to look uncomfortable. Listen, Claire, can I call you Claire? I know this is weird, but I really think we should talk. As adults. Maybe clear the air? Clear the air? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to clear the air? I just think. I don't care what you think. Stay away from me. Stay away from my house. And tell Marcus if he knows what's good for him. He'll figure out a way to get you out of that house. I slammed the door, but Amber wasn't deterred. Over the next week, she tried everything. Wave hello when I got the mail. Smile when our paths crossed at the end of the driveway. She even left a note in my mailbox suggesting we get coffee. I threw the note away. Marcus and I were barely speaking. He'd moved into the guest room. I'd contacted a lawyer just to understand my options. The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, had laid it out clearly. Colorado was a no-fault divorce state. The affair didn't matter legally. We'd split assets 50-50. The house would probably have to be sold. Sold. This house where I'd lived for 8 years, where I'd painted every room, planted the garden, hosted Thanksgiving dinners. I'd have to leave because Marcus couldn't keep it in his pants. Then came the pregnancy announcement. It was a Saturday morning. I was in the front yard, trying to prune the roses because focusing on something, anything, felt better than sitting inside obsessing. Amber came out of her house wearing exercise clothes, but she wasn't heading for a run. She walked straight toward me. Claire, wait, please, just give me 5 minutes. I have nothing to say to you, but I have something to say to you. She took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. The pruning shears slipped from my hand. It's Marcus's baby, she continued. I found out yesterday. I know this is horrible timing, and I know you probably hate me, but I thought you deserved to know directly rather than hearing it some other way. I couldn't breathe. The world tilted sideways. How far along? The question came out automatically. About 8 weeks. 8 weeks. I did the math in my head. That meant conception was around 4 months ago. 2 months after Marcus swore he'd ended things. 2 months into our therapy sessions. You've been seeing him this whole time, I said. It wasn't a question. She bit her lip. It's complicated. It's really not. I walked inside, leaving my gardening tools scattered on the lawn. Marcus was in the kitchen making his protein shake. He looked up when I entered. She told you, he said quietly. You've been seeing her this entire time, while we were in therapy, while you were promising to fix things. Claire, don't. I held up my hand. Just don't. I want you out. Today. Pack your things and go. This is my house too. Then I'll leave. I don't care anymore. I just can't be under the same roof as you for another second. I stayed with my best friend Rachel for 3 days. She lived 20 minutes away in a condo that smelled like vanilla candles and wine. She let me cry, rage, and then cry some more. She also did what good friends do. She asked the hard questions. What are you going to do? Rachel asked on the 3rd night. We were sitting on her balcony, drinking wine that was probably too expensive for my current mental estate. I don't know. Divorce him, sell the house, start over somewhere, and just let her win. I looked at Rachel. She had that expression she got when she was planning something. Rachel worked in corporate law and had a strategic mind that frankly scared me sometimes. What do you mean? I mean, she bought the house next door to you, Claire. That's not normal. That's not a woman who just happened to fall in love with a married man. That's calculated. She's either psychotic or she wants something. She wants Marcus. Maybe. Or maybe there's more to this. Rachel leaned forward. Has Marcus told you anything about her? I mean, really told you? Where she works? Where she's from? How they even met? I realized I didn't know. I'd been so consumed by the betrayal that I'd never asked for details. They met at some conference. She works in marketing or something. Or something. Rachel pulled out her phone. What's her last name? I don't know. The house next door. What's the address? I told her. Rachel typed rapidly. Okay, property records are public. Let's see who actually bought that house. She scrolled for a minute. Then her eyebrows shot up. Claire, the house wasn't bought by Amber anybody. It was bought by a trust. The Meridian Family Trust. What does that mean? It means someone with money, real money, bought that house, and they didn't want their name directly on it. A chill ran down my spine. Why would she do that? That's what we need to find out. Rachel spent the next hour digging. She had access to databases through her law firm, resources I didn't even know existed. With each search, the picture of Amber became stranger. There's barely anything on her, Rachel said, frustrated. No social media under Amber Mitchell, which is the name Marcus gave you, right? No LinkedIn, no Facebook. It's like she doesn't exist online. Maybe she's private. Nobody's this private. Not in 2024. Even my grandmother has a Facebook. What are you saying? Rachel looked at me seriously. I'm saying something doesn't add up, and I think you need to find out what it is before you just walk away from your house and your life. I went home the next day. Marcus had moved out, staying at some extended stay hotel. The house felt empty and too quiet, but I couldn't hide forever, and Rachel's words had planted a seed of curiosity. If Amber was playing some kind of game, I wanted to know the rules. I started watching her. Not in a creepy way, at least that's what I told myself. I just paid attention, noted when she left, when she came home, who visited, and that's when I noticed the pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m., a silver Lexus would pull up. A man in his 60s, well-dressed, would go inside. He'd stay for exactly 1 hour, then leave. On Wednesdays, a different car. A red Audi. Younger guy, maybe early 30s. Amber wasn't working, at least not at any normal job. She was home all day, every day. So where was all this money coming from? I mentioned it to Rachel during our weekly dinner. She got that look again. I think, she said carefully, you should talk to her. Absolutely not. Hear me out. You need information. You need to understand what you're dealing with. And the best way to get information is directly from the source. She'll just lie. Maybe. But people usually give away more than they mean to. Plus, you have leverage now. What leverage? Rachel smiled. You're the wife. You have every right to know about the woman who's supposedly carrying your husband's baby. What if you approached it from that angle? Like you're trying to be mature about the situation, co-parenting or whatever. Get her talking. The idea made my skin crawl, but Rachel had a point. 2 days later, I knocked on Amber's door. She answered in silk pajamas, even though it was 3 p.m. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Claire, hi. I wasn't expecting. Can we talk? I interrupted. You were right before. We should probably clear the air. She hesitated, then stepped back. Of course. Come in. The house was different than when Mrs. Patterson lived there. Amber had redecorated completely. Everything was white and gold, expensive looking, abstract art on the walls, furniture that belonged in a magazine. Your house is beautiful, I said, meaning it. Thank you. I just wanted a fresh start, you know? She gestured to the couch. Can I get you something? Tea? Water? I'm fine. We sat in awkward silence for a moment. I know this is strange, I started, but I've been thinking, if you're really pregnant with Marcus's baby, then we're gonna be in each other's lives for a long time. Like it or not. Amber nodded slowly. I appreciate you being so mature about this. I'm trying. It's not easy, I can imagine. So I guess I just want to understand. How did this happen? How did you two meet? She tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. At a marketing conference in Phoenix. About a year ago. We just connected, you know? Started talking. It wasn't meant to happen. I never intended to fall for a married man. But you did. Yes. And I know that makes me a terrible person in your eyes. You bought the house next door to his wife. That makes you either a terrible person or a crazy one. She laughed nervously. I know how it looks. But honestly, I didn't know this was your house when I bought it. The real estate agent never mentioned it. It was only after I'd moved in that Marcus told me. That was the first lie. I could see it in her eyes. Really? What a coincidence. I know it sounds. Where are you from, Amber? The question caught her off guard. What? Originally. Where did you grow up? Ohio. Small town. You wouldn't have heard of it. And your family? Why are you asking about my family? Because you're going to be having my husband's baby. I think I have a right to know who you are. She stood up abruptly. I think you should leave. I thought we were clearing the air. We were. But now you're interrogating me, and I don't appreciate it. I stood too. You moved in next door to me. You're pregnant with my husband's baby. But you don't want to answer basic questions about yourself. Don't you think that's strange? Get out. Who are those men who visit you? The one in the Lexus? The one in the Audi? Her face went pale. You've been watching me. I live next door. Kind of hard not to notice. Those are clients. I do consulting work from home. What kind of consulting? Claire, you need to leave. Now. I did. But I'd gotten what I needed. She was rattled, defensive, and definitely hiding something. Rachel's eyes lit up when I told her about the conversation. Clients. She said clients? Yes. Why? Because I did more digging. I found an Amber Mitchell who works in marketing, but she's in her 50s and lives in Boston. I found 3 other Amber Mitchells in Colorado. One's a teacher, one's a dental hygienist, one's 19 and in college. None of them match our Amber. So she's using a fake name, or it's not her real identity at all. This was getting weirder by the day. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Amber's reaction when I mentioned the men visiting her. The way she'd shut down, gotten defensive. At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to the window. Amber's house was dark except for one light upstairs. I could see her silhouette moving back and forth. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A car pulled up. Dark sedan. No headlights. Someone got out. Even in the darkness, I could tell it was a man. Tall, broad-shouldered. He went to Amber's door. She let him in immediately, like she was expecting him. They stood in the doorway for a moment, and that's when I saw his face in the porch light. It was Marcus, my husband, who was supposedly staying at a hotel, who had promised to give me space. He was at her house at 2 a.m. I grabbed my phone and called him, watched through the window as he pulled his phone from his pocket, looked at the screen and declined the call. Then he went inside and closed the door. I called Rachel. He's there, I said when she answered groggily. Right now, at her house. Claire, it's 2 in the morning. I don't care. He lied. Again. He's at her house right now. Okay, breathe. What do you want to do? I want to know what the hell is going on. Then we dig deeper. Tomorrow, meet me at my office at 9. I barely slept. When morning came, I was exhausted and wired at the same time. I threw on jeans and a sweater and drove to Rachel's office downtown. She was already there, coffee in hand, looking like she'd been up for hours. I called in a favor, she said without preamble. My investigator friend Tony, he owes me. He's going to do some background on Amber. Real background, not just internet searches. How long will that take? Few days, maybe a week. But Claire, there's something else. She pulled out a folder. Inside were photos of Marcus and Amber coming out of restaurants, walking in a park, getting into cars together. Where did you get these? I hired someone to follow Marcus last week, after you told me about the pregnancy. You what? I had a feeling he was still lying. Looks like I was right. The photos were dated. The most recent was from 3 days ago. They were everywhere together, not hiding, not being careful. Why? I whispered. If he wanted to be with her, why not just divorce me? Why all the lies? That's what we're going to find out. Over the next few days, I went through the motions. Work, home, pretending everything was normal while my life disintegrated. Marcus tried calling me several times. I didn't answer. He sent texts. I deleted them. Then Tony called Rachel with his preliminary findings. We met at a coffee shop. Tony was exactly what you'd picture. Former cop, thick arms, suspicious eyes. Your neighbor is interesting, he said, sliding a folder across to me. Real name isn't Amber Mitchell. It's Vanessa Rhodes. Vanessa Rhodes. Yeah, grew up in Connecticut. Wealthy family. Old money. Her father's a real estate developer. Made millions in commercial properties. Why would she use a fake name? Tony shrugged. People do it for lots of reasons. Privacy. Running from something. Or running towards something. What else? She's been in Colorado for about 18 months. Before that, she was in New York. Before that, California. She moves around a lot. Never stays in one place more than a year or two. What does she do? For work? Tony exchanged a glance with Rachel. That's where it gets interesting. On paper, she's a consultant. But we can't find any actual clients. No company. No LLC. Nothing. The money she's living on appears to come from a trust fund. Her father's trust. So she's rich. Very. The house next to you? She paid cash. Full price. No mortgage. My head was spinning. Why would a rich woman from Connecticut move to Denver and have an affair with my middle-class husband? That, Tony said, is the million-dollar question. Rachel leaned forward. There's more. Tony found something else. Tony pulled out another document. About 3 years ago, Vanessa or Amber, whatever we're calling her, she was involved in a lawsuit, civil case, against a man named David Brennan. Who's David Brennan? He was her ex-boyfriend. According to court records, they dated for 2 years, got engaged. Then she found out he was married. The irony wasn't lost on me. What kind of lawsuit? I asked. She sued him for fraud, claimed he'd taken money from her, made promises about their future together, all while hiding his wife and kids. She won, got a settlement. But here's the thing. After the lawsuit, David Brennan's life fell apart. Lost his job. Wife divorced him. Lost custody of his kids. 6 months later, Tony paused. He took his own life. The coffee shop suddenly felt too cold. You think she's doing this on purpose? I asked slowly. Like targeting married men. I think she has a pattern, Tony said. And your husband fits it. Rachel touched my arm. Claire, there's one more thing. We looked into when they actually met. Marcus said it was at a conference in Phoenix, right? Yes. We checked. Marcus attended that conference, but so did about 2,000 other people. We pulled the attendee list, the schedules, everything. There's no record of Amber or Vanessa being registered for that conference. She wasn't a speaker, wasn't a vendor, nothing. So they didn't meet there. Probably not. Which means Marcus is lying about how they met. And if he's lying about that, what else is he lying about? I felt sick. You think this whole thing was planned from the beginning? I think you need to ask your husband some hard questions. I went home and waited. Around 7 p.m., Marcus finally came by to pick up more of his things. I was ready. We need to talk, I said before he could get past the entryway. Claire, I'm tired. How did you really meet Amber? He froze. What? You said you met at a conference, but she wasn't at that conference. So how did you really meet? His jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Her real name is Vanessa Rhodes. Did you know that? His face went white. You did know, I said, reading his expression. You know exactly who she is. Claire, tell me the truth. For once in your life, tell me the actual truth. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. When he looked up, there were tears in his eyes. She approached me, he said quietly, at a bar, about a year ago. I was there for happy hour with some guys from work. She sat down next to me, started talking. She was beautiful, and funny, and interested in everything I said. It felt good. You and we were going through that rough patch, remember? After your dad died and you were so distant. I remembered. My father had passed away suddenly. I'd been grieving. Apparently that gave Marcus license to cheat. She knew I was married? I asked. Yes, I told her first thing, but she said she didn't care about labels. We started meeting up, nothing physical at first, just talking, drinking. She made me feel alive again. When did it become physical? About 2 months in. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. She was like a drug. And the pregnancy? He laughed bitterly. That's the thing, Claire. I don't think she's actually pregnant. My heart skipped. What? She showed me a positive pregnancy test, but she won't let me go to any doctor appointments. Says she wants to wait until the second trimester. Gets angry when I push. I started wondering if maybe she's lying about the whole thing. Why would she lie? I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. She's not who I thought she was. No kidding. Did you know she sued her ex-boyfriend? That he ended his life after she destroyed him? Marcus's head snapped up. What are you talking about? I told him everything Tony had found. The real name, the pattern, the lawsuit. David Brennan. Oh God, Marcus whispered. What have I done? You had an affair, and now she's either pregnant with your baby, or she's playing some sick game. Either way, we need to figure out what she wants. She wants money, Marcus said suddenly. She's been hinting about it for months. Said we could be together, really together, if I just leave you and make sure I got my share of the house. Said her lawyer could make sure I got everything in the divorce. So this whole thing moving in next door, the pregnancy, it's all about money? I think so, but I also think it's more than that. She's obsessed with the idea of winning, of proving she can take whatever she wants. She talks about your dad sometimes, asks questions about his life insurance, the inheritance you got. Ice flooded my veins. How does she know about that? I might have mentioned it when we were still just talking, before things got physical. My father had left me a substantial inheritance, life insurance plus his retirement savings. It was sitting in an account untouched. I hadn't been able to deal with it yet. Too many emotions tied up in that money. She's after my inheritance, I said slowly. I think that's part of it. Yeah, and you were going to help her. No, I mean I didn't know what she was planning. She just said we could have a good life together, travel, buy a house somewhere nice. I was stupid and selfish, and I hate myself, but I never intended to steal from you. I sat down across from him. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to keep seeing her, keep her thinking everything's fine, and you're going to find out exactly what she's planning. Claire, this is the only way you even begin to make things right. You got us into this mess. Now you're going to help me get us out. He nodded miserably. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus played his role. He told Amber he wanted to be with her, wanted to leave me, started talking about money, assets, the house, and Amber started revealing her plan. She'd researched me thoroughly, knew about my father's death, knew about the inheritance. Her plan was simple: get Marcus to divorce me, but make sure the split was in his favor. She had a lawyer who specialized in this. They'd argue that my inheritance should be considered marital property, since we were married when I received it. They'd fight for the house, for my 401k, for everything. Then, once Marcus had the money, they'd disappear, start over somewhere new. Except there was one problem with her plan. She didn't know I knew. Rachel and I worked with Patricia, my divorce attorney, to build our case. We had the investigator's report, the photos, the evidence of fraud, the connection to David Brennan. She's done this before, Patricia said. Seduced a married man, destroyed his life, took his money. But this time she made a mistake. She underestimated you. The confrontation came on a Tuesday afternoon. I knocked on Amber's door with Rachel by my side. Amber answered with that fake smile. Claire, what a surprise. We need to talk, I said, about your real name, your real plan, and what really happened to David Brennan. Her smile vanished. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, Vanessa. She tried to close the door, but Rachel stuck her foot in the way. You can talk to us, or you can talk to the police, Rachel said calmly. We have evidence of fraud, of extortion, of a pattern of behavior that resulted in at least one death. Amber's facade cracked. For the first time, I saw real emotion in her eyes. Anger. You don't know anything, she hissed. I know your ex-boyfriend ended his life after you destroyed him. I know you've been planning to do the same thing to my husband. The question is why? She laughed, but it was bitter. You want to know why? Because men like your husband deserve it. Men who lie, who cheat, who make promises they can't keep. David Brennan lied to you, I said softly. He was married and he didn't tell you. I understand why you were angry. Angry. Her voice rose. He stole 2 years of my life, made me believe we were building a future. Then I found out about his wife, his kids. I was nothing to him, just a distraction. So you decided to make him pay. He deserved it. And now you're doing the same thing to Marcus. To me, your husband is no better than David. He cheated on you, lied to you. He deserves to lose everything. Maybe he does. I agreed. But I don't. I didn't do anything to you. You married a liar. That's crime enough. Rachel stepped forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave, sell the house, disappear, and if you ever contact Marcus or Claire again, we go to the police with everything we have. You can't prove anything. Actually, we can. We have Marcus's testimony. He'll testify to everything. The planning, the fraud, the threats. We also have David Brennan's sister. She's been looking for you for 3 years. Wants justice for what you did to her brother. I'm sure she'd love to know where you are. Amber's confidence wavered. 1 week, Rachel said. You have 1 week to be gone. We left. 2 days later, Marcus came to see me. He looked terrible, exhausted, broken. She's leaving, he said, putting the house on the market. Her lawyer called mine. She's dropping everything. Good. Claire, I am so sorry. sorry. For all of it. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but you're right, it doesn't. I'll sign whatever divorce papers you want. I won't fight you on anything. The house is yours. Everything is yours. I just want you to know that I never meant for any of this to happen. I was weak and stupid, and I fell for her manipulations, but I never stopped loving you. I looked at my husband. This man I'd spent 8 years with. This man who'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. I believe you, I said. I believe you loved me, but you loved yourself more. You loved how she made you feel more, and that's something I can't forgive. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I understand. The divorce papers will be ready next week. Please sign them, and then please leave me alone. Okay. He started to go, then turned back. For what it's worth, she wasn't pregnant. She admitted it finally. Just another lie. I know. He left. Amber's house sold quickly. Cash offer. She was gone within 3 weeks. Rachel's investigator tracked her to Seattle, but we didn't pursue it further. She was someone else's problem now. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. I got the house. Most of the assets. Marcus didn't fight any of it. Guilt makes people generous. I thought about selling the house. Too many memories, but something made me stay. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe because running away felt like letting them win. I repainted, redecorated, made it mine again. Mrs. Patterson's house, Amber's house, sat empty for a while. Then a young couple with a baby bought it. They were nice, normal. Everything Amber wasn't. Rachel came over one Saturday with wine and Thai food. How are you doing? She asked. Really, better, I said honestly. Some days are hard, but I'm getting there. You're stronger than you know. I had help. She smiled. That's what friends are for. We ate and talked and laughed. Later, after Rachel left, I sat on my porch and looked at the house next door. The young couple was outside, the husband pushing their daughter on a swing they'd hung from the old oak tree. Normal, happy, real. Everything I'd thought I had with Marcus but didn't. I pulled out my phone and looked at my father's contact. His number was still there, even though he'd been gone over a year. I typed a message I'd never send. Hey Dad, I know you'd be disappointed in how things turned out, but I think you'd be proud of how I handled it. I didn't run. I didn't hide. I fought back, and I won. Miss you every day. Love, Claire. I deleted it without sending, but somehow, writing it made me feel better. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you won? You didn't. Sleep well, Claire. My blood ran cold. Amber. I forwarded it to Rachel immediately. She called Tony. They advised me to file a police report, document everything, get a restraining order if necessary. But part of me wondered if this was just Amber's last gasp, her final attempt to maintain control. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of fear. Instead, I texted back. I sleep fine. How about you? No response. Days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. I started to relax again. Maybe it really was over. Then one morning, 3 months after Amber left, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mrs. Morrison? A woman's voice. Professional. Crisp. Yes? My name is Detective Sarah Chen, with the Seattle Police Department. I'm calling about Vanessa Rhodes. I understand you had some contact with her recently. My heart sank. What happened? Mrs. Rhodes was found deceased in her apartment 2 days ago. We're investigating the circumstances. Your name and number were in her phone. Multiple calls and texts over the past few months. I only texted her once. She contacted me. Can you tell me about your relationship with Miss Rhodes? I explained everything. The affair. The house next door. The plan. How she'd left. Detective Chen listened. I see. And when was the last time you had contact with her? She sent me a text about 3 months ago. I responded once. That was it. What did the text say? I pulled it up and read it to her. I need to ask Mrs. Morrison, where were you on December 18th, the date she died? At work. I'm a project manager at a tech company. I can provide my supervisor's information, security badge logs, whatever you need. That would be helpful. Yes. After I hung up, I called Rachel. Amber's dead, I said. What? I told her about the detective's call. Claire, you need a lawyer. Right now. Call Patricia. I didn't do anything. I know that, but this looks bad. Your husband's mistress ends up dead months after you confronted her. The police are going to look at you hard. She was right. Patricia took my call immediately. Don't talk to the police again without me present. I'll reach out to Detective Chen. We'll provide your alibi. But Claire, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there anything you're not telling me? No. I swear I had nothing to do with this. What about Marcus? The question hung in the air. Marcus. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. I said slowly. I don't think so. He's been staying away. Moved to an apartment across town. But he had motive. She threatened him. Manipulated him. You think Marcus did something? I think the police will think it's possible. She was right again. Detective Chen called back 2 days later. They'd confirmed my alibi. I was in a meeting with 12 other people when Amber died. Security footage showed me entering and leaving the building. But Marcus was a different story. He'd quit his job a month earlier, said he needed time to figure things out. No alibi for December 18th, and his phone records showed he'd called Amber 3 times that week. They brought him in for questioning. Rachel and I watched the news coverage. It was surreal seeing my life play out on TV. Local woman found deceased. Ex-boyfriend questioned. History of fraud and manipulation. Marcus was released after 48 hours. Not enough evidence to charge him, but I had to know. I drove to his apartment. He looked awful when he answered the door, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Did you do it? I asked without preamble. No. God, no, Claire. I know what you think of me, and I deserve it, but I'm not a murderer. Then why did you call her? She was blackmailing me. Said she had recordings of our conversations, plans we made. She wanted money to keep quiet. I called to try to reason with her, and she laughed at me, said I was pathetic, that I deserved everything I got. The last time I called, she didn't answer. later. That was the day before she died. What did the police say? That her death was being investigated as suspicious, but they wouldn't tell me anything else. 2 weeks later, Detective Chen called me again. We've closed the investigation into Ms. Rhodes' death, she said. What happened? I can't share all the details, but it's been ruled accidental. Prescription medication mixed with alcohol. History of mental health issues. No evidence of foul play. Accidental, I repeated. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry for your loss. She wasn't a loss, I said honestly, but thank you for letting me know. I hung up and stared at the phone. Accidental. Maybe it was. Maybe Amber's demons finally caught up with her. Maybe the guilt over David Brennan, over the lives she'd ruined. Maybe it all became too much. Or maybe she just couldn't handle losing for once. I'd never know for sure, but I could live with that. 6 months later, I was in my garden, planting new roses to replace the ones that had died during all the chaos. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Hello? Is this Claire Morrison? A man's voice. Older. Yes? My name is Richard Rhodes, Vanessa's father. I sat down on the grass. I'm sorry for your loss, I said automatically. Thank you. Listen, I know this is unusual, but I was hoping we could talk in person. I'm in Denver on business. I have some things I think you should know about my daughter. We met at a quiet cafe the next afternoon. Richard Rhodes was in his 70s, distinguished looking, tired eyes. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I know this must be strange. It is. I'll get right to it. Vanessa told me about you. Before she died, she called me and told me everything. The plan, what she was trying to do. She was crying, said she couldn't go through with it. I frowned. She couldn't go through with what? Destroying your life. She said you reminded her of herself, before David Brennan, before all the anger. She said you were strong, fought back, and it made her realize what she'd become. I don't understand. Richard pulled out an envelope. This is for you. She wrote it the night she died. Asked me to make sure you got it if anything happened to her. I took the envelope with shaking hands. I'll leave you to read it, Richard said, standing. I just wanted you to know that my daughter, despite everything, wasn't completely lost. She had moments of clarity, of regret. I hope that brings you some peace. He left. I opened the envelope. The letter was handwritten, shaky, like she'd been drinking when she wrote it. Claire, if you're reading this, I'm probably gone. Maybe by my own hand. Maybe not. Does it matter? I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not for the affair. Your husband was weak and available. But for everything else. For trying to destroy you. For moving in next door. For the pregnancy lie. For all of it. You were right about David. He broke something in me. And instead of fixing it, I decided to break others. Hurt them like I was hurt. It felt good for a while. Powerful. Like I was taking back control. But watching you fight back changed something. You didn't crumble. Didn't beg. You just quietly, efficiently dismantled everything I'd built. You won without becoming like me. That's when I realized I'd become the thing I hated most. The liar. The manipulator. The person who destroys lives for sport. I tried to stop. Tried to walk away. But I'd already set things in motion. Already hurt too many people. The guilt was crushing me. So I made a choice. I'm leaving you everything. The house next door. It's yours now. My father will handle the transfer. Consider it my apology. My attempt to undo even a fraction of the damage. I hope you live a beautiful life, Claire. You deserve it. I'm sorry I didn't. Vanessa. I read it 3 times. Then I called Richard. Did you know what the letter said? I asked. Yes. She told me her plans. Asked me to make sure the house was transferred to you. I can't accept that. She wanted you to have it. Please, let her do this one good thing. I didn't know what to say. The house was mine 6 weeks later. Richard handled everything. Refused any discussion of payment or alternatives. I thought about selling it, but Rachel had a better idea. Turn it into something good, she said. A rental property. Use the income to fund a charity. Something that helps women leaving abusive relationships. Turn Vanessa's last act into something meaningful. So that's what I did. The house became a transitional home for women escaping domestic violence. The rent money funded counseling services, job training, childcare. I named it Vanessa's house. Not because I forgave her, but because I believed in the possibility of redemption. Even incomplete redemption. Marcus signed the divorce papers and moved to California for a fresh start. I heard he was seeing someone new. I hoped he'd learn something. As for me, I stayed in my house. My garden flourished. I got a promotion at work. Rachel and I took a trip to Italy. Life went on. But sometimes, late at night, I'd look out my window at Vanessa's house, see the lights on, know that women were inside, rebuilding their lives, and I'd think about Vanessa, about how close I came to being destroyed by her plan, about how her final act of conscience had created something beautiful from all that ugliness. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd wanted to destroy my life. Instead, she'd given me purpose. I still don't know if what happened to her was truly accidental. Part of me suspects she made a choice that night, that the guilt became too heavy. But I also know that she'd started making different choices before the end. Choices toward redemption rather than revenge. Maybe that's enough. I got a call last month from the first woman we helped through Vanessa's house. Her name was Jennifer. She'd escaped an abusive husband, stayed with us for 6 months, got a job, saved money, found her own apartment. I just wanted to say thank you, she said. You saved my life. You saved your own life, I told her. We just gave you a place to do it. Still, thank you. After we hung up, I pulled out Vanessa's letter. I'd kept it. Wasn't sure why. I read it one more time. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a box with other mementos from that year. The year my husband's mistress bought the house next door. The year everything fell apart. The year I learned exactly how strong I was. I closed the box and put it away. Some stories don't have neat endings. Some wounds don't fully heal. Some questions remain unanswered, but life goes on anyway. And sometimes, if you're lucky, something good grows from the ruins. I'm one of the lucky ones.